Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of the WADcast, the Writers, Actors, Director podcast. I am one of your hosts, Josh, and joined with me, as always, from, some people say it's the Jacksonville of the West Coast, Brandon.
Hi. That's a very interesting cover you did for the show. That was cute.
It was
that was cute.
It was legend. Wait for it.
Daryl. Oh my god. Sorry, 1 second here.
Yeah, I've been doing a really deep dive into the rewatch of How I Met Your Mother. Love that show. So welcome, Brandon, to the show.
Hi, glad Josh. Thank you for welcoming me to
your own show.
I appreciate that.
I gave myself the giggles. And for those of you that are listening to the audio version only, why? Join us. Join us. Be one of us. Live every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And then you will see exactly what the opening was instead of just, the whole marching band thing. You know what the giggles were about.
Oh my god.
So how are you?
I'm good. How are you, man?
Spring break's coming to an end. I'm not ready for it to end.
It's okay. I am.
I just want to be, independently wealthy, so I don't have to wake up I'm gonna still wind up waking up in the morning, but I don't want to have to,
Yeah, I got you. Well, I mean, look at it this way: you got to get back to work. You got to feel like you're earning your keep again, and who needs vacations anyway?
All it does is remind me, hey, I should probably clean that up.
Probably.
And then, when you're working throughout the week, you're like, I'm too tired. But when you're on vacation, you're like, I don't wanna. And it just falls all back on you at that point.
Yeah. So it works.
Yeah.
Hashtag adulting.
Not a fan.
But, yeah, right. But no, we had talked earlier this week about what we were going to do for this show, and we went with the whole patriotic route. Hence, why if you've been here since the beginning of seeing this podcast, this episode, you would have seen a picture of me riding in the most horribly photoshopped picture possible on the back of a bald eagle, which
Merica.
The fact that picture even exists still cracks me up. But yeah, there's a lot of here's what cracks me up with the American cinemas. Hollywood is something that people look at like you have the right that refers to Hollywood as being of liberal agenda, right?
Hates America.
Like he hates America. Absolutely hates America. Who the hell do you think makes these patriotic movies you go see? World Trade Center with Nicolas Cage. Okay, the whole 9/11 thing that happened. That was Hollywood.
9/11 thing.
Yeah, that pesky little day back in 2001. But you have 9/11. You have what was it oh god, Saving Private Ryan. You have all these pro-American propaganda movies that have come out. That guess who made them? That was all Hollywood guys.
Yeah,
that wasn't just some diehard conservative with Trump 2020 and Trump 2024 and Trump 2028 stuff everywhere.
And it wasn't Kirk Cameron.
It sure as hell was not Kirk Cameron. No, these movies, although propaganda, were actually kind of good. So it definitely didn't include Kirk Cameron's company. So it's it cracks me up because, and then you have Hollywood that talks about I guess being very I'm not going to say anti-American. They never claim to be anti-American, but it's you have these movie stars who dictate the dangers of war while at the same time they portray characters who are usually in some kind of warlike scenario in these movies.
Yeah.
And it's very Team America, here's my one per episode, America, fuck yeah. So it's just that being the case. we thought that'd be fun to discuss some of these more outrageous America propaganda / America patriotic movies.
Right.
And there's a lot of them too. Going from The Right Stuff, oh God, going all the way back to like Christ, like the ninth, like the dawn of cinema. A lot of it has been very much like America is the greatest country in the world, kind of like we're always the heroes.
Mm-hmm.
We are always the good guys. It makes you wonder, like, if there are movies that we don't know about because they're banned from the United States that are in other countries where America is like the evil invader and we're being fought off. I'm sure there's some in North Korea somewhere.
They don't make movies.
Well, no, they're not made for the public. They're made for Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, from what I understand, he's a big fan of our cinema. So
yeah,
maybe he's like,
he's a big fan of our cinema, but it's banned in this country.
In all but one place, his living room.
A little trivia, actually. Team America. Kim Jong-un hated Team America. He despises Matt Parker and Trey Stone. I'm sorry, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. He despises them.
Mm-hmm.
After Team America was done, they both autographed a copy of it and mailed it to. Oh no, I'm sorry, no, Kim Jong Il. That's who it was.
Sorry, Papa.
I'll wait.
I'm silencing my phone. Okay. Go on.
Okay. So Kim Jong-il hated Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Mm-hmm.
He hated Team America. So when the movie came out, he actually had emailed. I'm sorry. They'd autographed a copy of it and mailed it to him.
Well,
yeah, I think they said something like, to our biggest fan or something.
Love you bunches.
Another reason I love those guys. No one is off limits whether you're good or bad. There's no discrimination. But there are some movies that if you watch them, it's just over the top, Like it's just I don't know how to describe it, but it is so over the top that everything we do is like we are the absolute like heroes of everything. And it can be like a more
no faults, absolutely flawless.
Yeah, it could be something as simple as like Top Gun, where you have a guy that's full of flaws and everything else. He's very cocky, absolutely full of himself. But he is like the hero of the movie. He has this really cool move. Maverick has a really cool move where he flips a plane upside down and flicks off an enemy fighter pilot while his co-pilot Goose takes a picture of him. And it was mocked in, I think,
Hot Shots.
Oh God, huh?
Hot Shots.
Yeah, Hot Shots. That's right. When he like flips upside down, he's like smacking the guy with his wings. But you have movies that are like that, and they go to the more unrealistic ones, like the sci-fi level, where we're always the heroes again, such as Battleship, Independence Day 1 and 2. And it's America. We are the heroes in every one of these movies, every one of them. So, or we start off as like the victims that end up kicking some serious ass, like in Red Dawn.
Yeah.
So, their army was defeated by a bunch of teenagers in high school.
Because America.
Yeah, the army couldn't do it. Let the kids have their turn. But. And I will say, you know what, the remake of Red Dawn, I will say that although they did change a few things as far as like which party was attacking and stuff like that, it was much more graphic than the original one was. Like you have the one scene where Chris Hemsworth and what was it, Josh, whatever his name is from Drake and Josh are having their conversation. And Chris Hemsworth, he tells his brother to go talk to a girl he likes, and Chris Hemsworth gets up to go talk to her. And he's greeted with like a bullet to the head the second he steps to that threshold of that door to go in the other room. Like it's graphic. But
overprotective parenting.
Yeah, a little bit. But anyway, so would you like to get this started? Like, let's talk about like what is the most patriotic. Let's go with like the most over the top patriotic movie you can think of. It cannot be a spoof like Hot Shots or Spy Hard or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be something that was meant to be taken seriously. That is just so damn. When you go back and rewatch it, it's just bad.
It's so thick with its patriotism that it turns a good movie into a bad movie.
Yeah. Like I mean, it's like it just turns into like you feel like it's more of like a. And for anyone watching this, I want you to understand. I was born and raised in the United States. I actually love saying that I'm an American, despite us being like one of the biggest invaders in the world, next to Genghis Khan. But there are things like that I do enjoy about this country. There are things that I find reprehensible this country has done. But this is not a political show. This is us tearing apart movies that were meant to be taken seriously. So, just a disclaimer: don't want to hear no bitching. So, but Josh, what can you think of off the top of your head, like, or just like something that comes to mind when you think of borderline sitting down in the chair with your eyes, like I guess like braced open, facing a screen for like, just propaganda?
You know what? I think the first one that comes to mind filling that criteria, because there is a movie that I think revels in its patriotism and makes it brilliant, but we can get to that later. How about 1970s Patton?
Okay.
It is, an epic war movie, World War II. I give the filmmakers that much credit that World War II is one of those, as I like to put it a lot, it's one of those wars that there is a clearly defined good guy and bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Now, the truth of the matter is that, of course, the United States isn't as doe-eyed and innocent as we would like to believe, especially when that in that period of time. But for the sake of the war, let's just say, yes, there was a good guy, there was a bad guy. Nazis bad, and it's one of those villains that endures to this day as being the villain, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And we don't get that very much. World War II brought about a lot of bad guys. It was less about German bad and just straight, yes, very pinpoint Nazi bad, but depending on, I guess, the era the World War II film was made, there were also a lot of different depictions of say Japanese stereotypes and things like that. And one of the big reasons why they put these things into movies is because if you dehumanize the enemy, right?
Yeah.
It makes it easier to support killing them. So,
Yeah.
that's why we saw, all of these very unusual from today's standards depictions of people we go to war with. And I would like to say, that's something we don't do anymore, but nope, still the case.
Oh yeah, no, we still put a shit like that out. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
All the time.
very much still the case. If somebody is considered an enemy of, the government, as far as, another country, another religion, another race, yeah, we get terrible depictions of them in movies. It's just It's just what's done. There are a few cases where, you try to start seeing the other side of things. Like, seeing World War II from a Japanese perspective, that's been done a few times. Here, I'm pretty sure in Japan that there have been a few films about this, although I'm not, familiar. And I don't mean Godzilla. That's just, don't say that. That's wrong. But
hey, we killed him too.
but think about like all the way up to, we'll say, the early 2000s, and America versus the terrorists, right?
Yep.
It just seemed like whenever you saw somebody of some sort of, Muslim background in a TV show or a movie, said they were there to play, terrorist.
Not always. It's
Not
like
always,
if you went out in the desert in like Iraq or Iran or something like that, chances are if you were like American, you were getting kidnapped, put in a cave somewhere, and you would be the hero of the story.
Yeah.
Or you end up like Ryan Reynolds and buried, and you just die.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Well, the movie's been out for over 10 years, so if you guys haven't seen it, you deserve the spoilers. It's a good movie. Not a great movie, but it's a good movie. Talk about all the production budget going into paying Ryan Reynolds, right?
Yeah. I'm not going to say it literally.
But yeah, it's like, and you mentioned a movie earlier when we were talking about this initially, and I was looking into it. I watched it just to see if it was as America hell yeah as I thought it was, as you were saying it was, rather. And you're right. Rocky 4, right? Yeah. Rocky 4. First off, this movie came out at the end of the Cold War. It was coming out towards the end of the Cold War. In the movie, Apollo is killed by Ivan Drago. He's killed by Ivan Drago, and so Rocky decides he's going to take the fight to Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up whooping Ivan's ass so hard that even the Russians start shouting Rocky's name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was seriously one of those movies where this character, who is an American character, went over to a country that notoriously does not care for Americans, and whooped one of their own, like their champion's ass, and changing the entire country's mind of what America is.
Mm-hmm.
All it took is just like a boxer. That's it. Like, oh yeah, that'll change everything. That's what.
Rocky.
And then I guess they brought that back up for one of the Creed movies where like Apollo's kid fights Ivan's son. Like, okay, but it's like it was very much over the top. I mean, like for those of you that don't know, if you've never seen Rocky, basically it starts off he's a very wealthy boxer living in a mansion, a beautiful mansion. He's so rich that he buys a robot to deliver a cake to his brother-in-law Paulie. Paulie is given the what was it? Power of attorney, I believe, right? No, he gave the power of attorney rather to the lawyer. The lawyer took all the money and ran with it, all the millions. They end up broke again. And then Rocky is introduced with this chance to fight Ivan Drago. Well, guess what? He goes and he wins. But it's just like, and it's not just like an American kicking his ass. It's like as he's cheering, you have the American flag waving in the background and everything else. He's wrapped in the American flag. He's wearing American flag shorts. Like, wow, okay, man. Like the picture that I took as a joke for 4th of July one year to annoy the person hosting the party was pretty much, aside from the shirt and the bandanas and the cape. Well, I guess not. We can leave the cape on there. That's pretty much what Rocky was wearing.
Yeah. Star Spangled Boxing Gloves.
Yep, everything. But I mean, it cracked me up because yeah, it's a good movie. But you know what? The funniest thing about that movie is that the montages. There are 5 montages, I think, in that movie. And I was keying up the time, and these montages take up a half hour of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like a half damn hour of this movie is just music and him working out. Like, I don't know if I was watching a movie or a workout video. Like, I mean, just...
The answer is yes.
Am I supposed... Yeah, yes. Am I supposed to do what Rocky's doing right now?
I should. I mean...
But...
then that's the movie that I thought went from cringy to all the way back around to awesome again. Because Rocky IV is the best Rocky movie.
Yeah.
It's one of those
movies. Huh?
I said it's got such a wonderful story arc. Avenging the death of his best friend.
Oh yeah.
Ivan Drago, a great cinematic villain from Dolph Lundgren. If he dies, he dies.
Yeah. He says next to nothing the whole movie, but his presence alone is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think he even sent Sylvester Stallone to the hospital because they were really punching each other in that final fight. They were actually punching each other. If I remember, I think he actually cracked or fractured a few of Sylvester Stallone's ribs. But yeah, so that's one of my picks for like the over the top patriotic movies. But we haven't even scratched the surface because that's like at the very end of my list. There's ones that as we go up, it gets better.
Right.
And I'm not including any, again, no spoofs, no Team America, although Team America is very much an over the top. You know, it is what it is. But
it identifies itself as such.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, that movie is not like one of those things. Like even like this song, "What Would You Do?" Like, I mean, just the whole that whole montage right there. Like, I mean, yeah. Can we just acknowledge one thing about that movie though? Because we're talking about like the bad guys being terrorists and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where they go through all of that professional, like state of the art stuff to turn the guy into, you know, one of the guys looking like the terrorist. They just threw some brown paint on his face and stuck some hair around his face and said, "Here you go. It's uncanny." What's his sign? What's your sign if you're in hell? so then when he does it, they think he's one of his like, that son of a bitch terrorist is mocking us. God, I need to watch that movie again. That movie is deserving of multiple watches.
It has been a while since I've seen it myself, anything from those guys is great.
I took Judy to go see that movie, and she was like, I mean, I heard someone cackling in the theater from the other side of the theater. So I went to go get popcorn, and it's her. I come in there, she's like in tears, like crying from laughing so hard. The movie's great, but anyway. So what do you have next on your list? Show me yours, and I'll show you mine.
Well, the dog next door wants to chime in a little bit.
Open the door and tell him to shut up.
I don't have a door to that direction.
Oh, okay. Window.
So how about you take this one so I'm not filling up the
okay
with
I've got a classic one. Yankee Doodle Dandy from 1942. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a musical. It's an okay movie, but it's pretty much of rags to riches story about like how they were able to do so much just by living the American dream. Of course, this is also a movie that glorifies one of the very generations that has single-handedly destroyed this nation. Eventually, them in the following one, but still. It is a damn good movie, but it's just so over the top. Like, it is just nothing but like the American dream. This, the American dream, that. Like, I mean, it's just, you know, this movie is about as dated as the American dream itself. I'm going to catch all kinds of flack from people that know me and watch the show from saying that. But you know what? Damn it, we're entitled to our opinions, and that is an observation that I've made. But you know what? One thing we can say is not everyone has toys and Funko Pops made after them. We've really made in this world. By made it, I mean I stood in line for 2 hours to make these damn things for us. But moving on. Would you like to take the next one? He's still going, huh?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
You know what? Wow. Anyway, how about rather than give you a specific film, I give you an actor.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say that a person can be guilty of taking a job, right? After all, actors got to eat too.
Yeah.
But in the history of cinema, there is one person that not only did a lot of these types of movies, but he actually was the embodiment of these types of movies for a very long time. Do you know who I'm talking about?
John Wayne.
John Wayne. That's right. This guy, he made a career out of being an American hero. It didn't matter if he was a soldier in the army, or a soldier in the Marines, or a soldier in the Navy. Or a U.S. Marshal. There we go. I changed it up a bit.
Yeah.
John Wayne has portrayed so many characters that embody the spirit of America.
Yeah.
From the heroic stature to the brave stature. I should have had another word there. But all the way down to the, you know what? Gonna say racism. Yeah. I remember the Searchers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hero was pretty racist, dog.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But John Wayne is everything that is wrapped up into America.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, absolutely.
So if you want to talk a particular movie, yeah, just take your pick. You can
Genghis
basically. I'm pretty sure it's that's American as hell. I haven't
That
seen
was
it.
so bad. Yeah, let's make a movie about Genghis Khan. Oh, who should play him? John Wayne. Like, that's perfect. He looks just like him.
Now, I'm not going to say I'm taking a dump on John Wayne or his legacy by being patriotic, because that would be absolutely ridiculous. People are allowed to love their country. If I'm going to take a dump on him, it's because was actually kind of a bad person. So let's make sure we're not conflating two different things.
Yeah.
But his movies were definitely a part of that whole scenario where Hollywood created literal propaganda movies to, well, whatever their intention was, it was to make sure that people loved America. That was the end result of a lot of, like, Top Gun being made to boost up Navy recruitment.
Oh yeah, it worked.
It worked. And that's if you can do that and make money, that's what you call a success.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The What was it? Actually, I do have something pulled for this. There was a point in time when the government needed to, or should I say, wanted to continually spend on military because pre-Vietnam, and if somebody's in the chat wants to correct me on some of this information, by all means, because I am not the most educated man in these matters. I just read articles and whatnot. But I want to say it was pre-Vietnam. The idea of a massive standing army was pretty ludicrous. Nobody really did it. Even World War II, there was a massive recruitment drive to just have the manpower to fight the war when it was time to.
Yeah.
And by recruitment drive, I also mean draft, of course. And
willing recruitment, forced recruitment, it's recruitment.
It's recruiting. And that went to Vietnam, where once again they had to institute a draft for technically the thing that wasn't actually a war. And then how do you draft for a police action? I don't know. Anyway, again, not our strong suit, these geopolitical issues. But the thought was pre-Vietnam that a huge standing army was kind of a crazy thought. When war loomed, you prepared. But to be in a constant state of preparation seemed weird. Until, again, I want to say around the Vietnam era, and I will reference this article for information. Okay, actually, before Vietnam. Okay, anyway. See, I knew I was going to get stuff wrong.
Yeah.
But the idea was, at some point, somebody said, hey, we need to make sure Americans are afraid of a constant threat. That way, there can be more military spending. If they make this an issue where people are constantly afraid of some sort of war threat or something like that, that way they can keep spending the money and have it for when they need it.
Okay.
And to do that, to get the word out, you could always tell people, hey guys, there's a pending threat, right? I know there's no proof of this pending threat, but trust me. Right?
Yeah.
No. They went to Hollywood. And if you're familiar with the movie types, most of them are willing to do pretty much anything for money.
Yeah, Tom Cruise. It involves him running into things with blowing up, and Michael Bay too. Any kind of explosions and borderline underage girls looking sexy. That's a Michael Bay thing right there. So
yeah. So they went to Hollywood and said, hey, can you scare the peoples? We need a whole lot of America. Yeah, everybody else, nay. Movies. Can you pump those out for us? And I guess it was kind of the 50s. I was about a decade
40s.
off. Well, during the actual, World War II era, it was, the World War II movies were made, but...
Well, I'm saying it started off as serials for propaganda.
Oh, yeah, Disney had a huge hand in that.
Disney and Warner Brothers both.
But I'm talking...
Are you talking about like actual you're talking about like actual like war movies?
Right.
Okay, I got you.
When the idea of the unstoppable American hero became the trope that it became.
Yeah.
Whether or not you love it or hated it, that's where it all began. And these movies started coming out, and people started seeing threats that, in all honesty, probably weren't as imminent as it was made out to be. And
Yeah.
this lasted, if you want to count, let's say it started right at the end of World War II, and maybe even during it, 40 to 50 years of this. I know this because when I was a kid, I'd say the 80s, it reached peak patriotism.
Okay.
That's where it crescendoed until the 90s brought about this new generation, this Gen X, that were like, no, we hate everything,
Okay.
including your old Merica movies. Bleh. So for 40 to 50 years, peaking in the 80s, everything had that epic Americanness to it.
Well, yeah, that's what the show's all about.
Yeah, I'm doing a little history lesson here.
It's been a 13, 14-minute history lesson. I love you. Go ahead.
I lost my train of thought.
You're talking all for 40 or 50 years. That's been the thing.
Yeah, peaked in the 80s, fell off in the 90s, and it really reflects a lot of the way people feel about things today when it comes to where you are on certain scales, and how you see things.
Yeah.
The boomer generation was literally brought up to believe in American exceptionalism. It was in everything. The schools, the movies, everything. And when I was a kid, it was in everything. But my formative years being the 90s and seeing the generation previous to mine just start getting so callous and so jaded that nothing seemed to impress them except maybe Kurt Cobain. It influenced how I feel about everything, including the movies that I appreciate and the country that, yes, I'll say it. I ain't afraid to say it. I ain't as scared. I love America, USA. It's my favorite place to live, mostly because it's the only place that I've lived. But that makes it by default my favorite place. And I have no issues with those great 80s movies where it's like America, yeah, because they were just so damn cheesy and so over the top that you have to smile, you have to laugh. But my problem is there are people that can't separate the cheesiness and the hookiness from a basically pseudo religion, right? Gangs of New York. Remember that movie?
Yep.
Scorsese did a fine job of showing what it was like when a character's religion was their country. And I think people raised with that kind of mentality end up a certain way.
Yeah. I mean, people took that very, very literally, the whole movie.
Yeah, I ran out of gas like 5 minutes ago, so.
Okay. Can I mention my next movie?
Yeah. By all means, do it. And if full disclosure here, I didn't actually make a list.
I know you got sidetracked for like 15 minutes.
Once you get on a roll, right? I'm just gonna mute myself and
damn
in the corner.
All right, so Armageddon.
Don't you say an unkind word about this movie?
Huh?
Don't you dare say an unkind word about this movie.
The movie was horrible. It was the dumbest shit I've seen in my life.
Your face is horrible.
Yeah, well, Anyway, but yeah, so you have NASA that decides and goes and recruits a bunch of oil drillers that work in the ocean to come and I don't know, like teach them how to drill the way that they do.
Flawless plot so far.
Huh?
Said flawless plot so far.
Yep. Yeah, that's the flawless part, actually. Teach them how to drill the way they do because they're a highly sought after crew of drillers.
Yeah.
And instead of doing that, they make their own deal, and NASA just goes with it, which is no, train us how to be astronauts, and we'll drill it.
Well, they did say it would be more time sensitive to train them to be astronauts than to train astronauts to be drillers.
Yeah, that's bullshit. All the mathematics that goes into being like an astronaut and everything else, every single thing that you were trained for, oh God, however long. Like people train their entire lives preparing to be astronauts. People fail left and right out of like the G test and everything. All these guys pass the G. They all pass that test. Every one of them. No qualms, no nothing, no issues, no nothing. Now, of course, you also have to throw in because it's a Michael Bay movie. You have to throw in a love triangle. Although this one is not a romantic love triangle. It is a father and an employee, fighting over fighting over the affections or disapprovals of the daughter's dating life or whatever.
The father wanted the daughter to date better.
Yeah, because it's Michael Bay. And then they all go and land on this asteroid.
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce Willis literally goes out with a bang. But it was just over the top. Like, I mean, it's just like absolute just. Oh God, there was so much red, white, and blue in that movie. It's just like okay. Like the only other thing that I've ever seen that top that one, I think, was probably Independence Day. Mm-hmm. Where we beat the aliens with a Radio Shack computer and a drunken pilot.
Had an inspirational presidential speech.
Yeah, that's like literally the only inspirational part of the whole damn movie.
And it made the most American holiday ever a global holiday, which, if you're into the subtext there, basically everybody becomes America that day.
Yeah, we officially colonized the whole world that day.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just like I mean, really, both those movies they're so over. Like, oh God, I don't even know where to begin. But it's just like they all master the art of being like able to conduct themselves in space, all that crap. You have Independence Day, where after just kind of being in the ship for a few hours, Will Smith knows how to fly it flawlessly. Like this alien technology that is not of this earth that he has never trained in before in his life. He has it down. It's just like, because he's a pilot.
Yeah.
He's a jet pilot, so he knows how to fly an alien ship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, There's a whole dogfight and everything else, and he's outmaneuvering the aliens who created this alien technology. Like he's better at it than they are. You know why? Because he's American.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so, oh God.
Until the sequel, where he unceremoniously dies off screen. Oh, spoilers!
No, you know what? He did himself a favor by not coming back for the sequel. But once again, America beats that alien too. America and Jeff Goldblum. We beat the alien.
I have a movie. So whenever you're ready, just toss it to me.
Oh, go ahead.
The Postman.
Oh, Jesus. Kevin Costner, right?
Yeah. Even in the post-apocalypse, America and the mail must continue.
Yeah, like someone seriously pitched that as like, let's talk about like a post-apocalyptic postman. Like, what? Yes, he doesn't give up. Neither rain nor sleet nor snow. And he even recites it in the movie. Like, what? Yeah.
I can see the pitch, and he's like, get it? Post-apocalypse? Huh?
Oh,
Post?
man.
Green light.
It's just so bad. But you have that, then you have like, well, I wouldn't really say it's an American. No, it's more religious over the top. I was going to say Book of Eli, but that was more over religion than it was any kind of level of nationality or anything like that. But you know, there is. Let me pull my list here real quick. There was a movie. That's what it was. Air Force One.
Get off my plane.
Air Force One is the most, because this movie, if you have never seen Air Force One, let me just spoil it for you really quick. Harrison Ford, he is the president of the United States. He is on Air Force One, hence the title. And Gary Oldman, in his own Gary Oldman-esque ways, is now playing a terrorist. I believe he was Russian, actually. I don't remember exactly, but he was like Russian, Slavic, whatever it was. But he was like this foreign terrorist. He hijacks a plane. He and his agents of whatever. His first mistake was coming up against Han Solo and Indiana Jones in one character, basically. Because you have like, and this movie was so revered that I believe even former President Trump said flat out, like, oh yeah, like the way like that movie Air Force One, that's the kind of president I want to be. Like that's the great way to be a president. Like, to where Harrison Ford even has to say is like, Donald, it was a movie. Like it was taken that seriously. But you had people that was like, oh yeah, that's why when he says get off my plane, he punches the guy after he wraps his parachute around his neck and everything else. I remember being in the theater seeing this when I was like, oh God, was that 1997, 97? When I was about like, when I was 15 years old, I saw this in the theater. Yeah, because I worked in the theater, so I was 15. And I remember everyone in the theater while I was like waiting for this movie to end. I was just catching the tail end on my break. Everyone starts cheering and it's like, "That's America!" I'm like, I don't think any U.S. president to date would act like that.
Teddy Roosevelt.
I mean, to date, like in recent years would have acted like that. Like, I mean, Bill Clinton would be looking for someone to screw. You know, George W. Bush would be looking somewhere to hide. Barack Obama would try to be bargaining, like making a deal. President Trump would definitely be hiding somewhere, tweeting. And Joe Biden would just forget where the hell he was, like what the hell was going on. So I mean, oh, that's my employee. Political jokes are funny, especially when they attack both sides. But yeah, it's like it was just such an zealous American movie. But it's hard to sit there with a straight face. I'll put it that way.
It's so been a while since I've seen it. I feel like I want to watch it again.
I'm good. Like, I think I have it on Blu-ray somewhere, but I don't intend to watch it at all.
I wouldn't mind putting together a series of shorts about what actual presidents would do in that situation.
Oh yeah. That'd be hysterical. You know, you'd piss off a lot of people on both sides though, because they would just like brag about their own self-assigned messiahs and what they would do to, save the country.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's half the fun would be seeing everybody get so butthurt.
well, there's that show. There's like a show that does stuff with like puppets. I forget, like, but they have like The Rock and Kevin Hart where he's in his pocket. Greta Thunberg trying to save everybody. Yeah, President Trump that's just like heavily obese and trying to eat everything with like big ass puppet with like these like the person's hands are actually normal sized hands, but the puppet is so big that the hands look that much smaller.
I don't think I've heard of this.
Huh?
And said I don't think I've heard of this.
I'll look. I'll message it to you, but yeah, it's hysterical. I mean, I'll like to see something like that with as far as like the skits go, like how presidents would handle stuff like that.
Keep an eye on the WADco YouTube page, everybody. I'm gonna try and get something up there. I don't know when, but it's coming.
Yep.
But we've talked a lot about movies when it comes to patriotism, but it did kind of overflow into basically every type of medium out there. One in particular that comes to mind. I know you're not a fan of the modern day product. I'm pretty sure as a kid you were probably a little more into it, but professional wrestling.
Never have been.
Back in the 80s, it was an almost competition to see who was going to be the most American of the Americans, who's going to fight for the country. WWF was notorious for that very specific thing.
Yeah, they created Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, Sergeant Slaughter. He is. You know what? Don't need to talk about Sergeant Slaughter. I'd say.
I honestly think John Cena was meant to be like the next Sergeant Slaughter. Honestly,
more like the next Hulk Hogan.
Well, I'm just saying, like, okay, let's mix the two together because like he was still like the whole like ex-soldier, all that stuff. Didn't he wear like dog tags when he wrestled?
You see, he didn't. He never claimed to be a soldier because he never was.
But I'm just saying, it's how they pretty much made him look, though. Is what I'm getting at.
He was the rah for the troops guy.
Yeah,
and he got that after being in the Marine. I want to say if the timetable's right, because he was in the movie The Marine. Where he started rocking that crew cut and did a lot of things for the troops, and somebody gave him dog tags, and it's a whole thing. But
yeah.
Specifically Hulk Hogan, who comes out to the song Real American.
Yep.
And fights the enemies of America, like the Iron Sheik. Something funny, Brandon?
It's just so racist.
Yeah, absolutely. The 80s were.
We didn't really have the best moral fiber yet. We were still getting there. I mean, I can't say anything because I don't really have a whole lot of moral fiber myself. So,
and in the chat, Ben, who is an expert on this stuff, says wrestling.
I can't get into it. I've tried so hard to get into that stuff. It's like watching a soap opera to me. That's all it is. It's like watching a damn soap opera, and it's what it always was to me. Not so much in the 80s, because you know what, I did watch it a little bit. I wasn't like a diehard fan
in the 80s.
Yeah, I wasn't a diehard fan of the 80s, but I still had like the rubber action, like the rubber figures that you like the finger puppets, where you like shoved your fingers up their asses and you made them like wrestle each other kind of deal.
Yeah.
I had the WWF ring along with some of the action figures. And I even had like I think a plush Macho Man Randy Savage doll, like the wrestling buddy thing, which is all kinds of weird looking back on now. But just go wrestle a doll. Your brother doesn't want to play with you. Go wrestle your doll. don't tackle the dog, tackle the doll. But no, it's like and now like Danielle posted this thing early on her Facebook. It was the thing with the grocery store fight, I guess, that happened like a couple years back between someone called Steve Austin and what's his face.
A couple years back. God, it's what been
like 20 years ago
at this point.
But she even asked, she was like, "What would you call this?" I'm like, mind-numbingly dumb. Because just like when you're younger, like when you're a kid, you're watching wrestling, you actually believe that they're landing some of these blows, right? And in your teenage years, you're like, it's not real, but you're still enjoying the show. And now it's just so over the top bad to me that it's just barely even unless you're a diehard fan such as yourself, I don't understand the point of even trying to watch it.
That's
the
fine.
fact that people pay a lot of money for those tickets to go see it just baffles me.
WWE Raw was in town this week, Monday night. I didn't feel any particular urge to go. And that's all the glitz and glamour of TV.
There's an episode of South Park that touches on exactly what I look at wrestling as today. Did you ever see it?
Yeah, I've seen every episode of.
Okay. The one where they all have like different stories and everything else for their characters, and it just turns into them it just turns into them really just, I don't know, having like more of a talk session into a microphone than any actual wrestling. Mm-hmm. Meantime, the wrestling coach is in a bar and he hears them like talking about like these kids wrestling and going through the whole storyline. He gets up, says, "That's not wrestling. That's not wrestling. This is wrestling." Pulls out his phone and shows them a video of two people wrestling. And these two rednecks like, "Mister, if you don't get that shit out of this bar right now." It was so good. Oh man.
If you break it up into the eras, right? It kind of follows our generation a bit. In the 80s, it was Looney Tunes because you had over the top, larger than life characters.
Are you saying that we've turned into the CW?
I'm saying
melodramatic bullshit finish. That's really worth watching.
Let me finish.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. In the 80s, over-the-top, larger-than-life characters with a lot of gimmicks based on occupations. So that's why you had guys like, the Big Boss Man, who was, by the way, one of my favorites. You had characters based on, a garbage man, an IRS guy, a millionaire. That was, Ted DiBiase.
Yeah.
It was very much a live-action cartoon. In the 90s, it continued to be that, but at some point, the paradigm shifted as we got older. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be.
It's like, just like whoever always wanted to see wrestle. Richard Simmons.
Ah.
That's right, everyone. I have a Richard Simmons action figure, okay? And he's awesome.
I'm not going to reach for anything. But anyway, in the 90s, the paradigm shifted and it became basically Jerry Springer.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what the 90s were about. It wasn't so much... I mean, don't get me wrong, the guys were still trying to go out there and put on great matches, but the reason the matches were going on had a lot to do with, let's be over the top and shocking because this is the area where everything's extreme with an X and everything that's pluralized ends with a Z.
Okay.
That was the 90s.
Well, yeah.
And it seems like ever since, post-millennium, whether it's the the ruthless aggression era or the PG era or whatever. It's just been struggling to find what it is over the last 20 years and
still hasn't found it.
Still hasn't found it.
So, I mean, at some point, it's just like it just needs to give up. Like, you know what? It's like someone that's never going to find themselves, but they keep trying to find themselves. And you kind of root for them, but at the same time, you kind of gave up on them. Like, oh, well, you're not really going anywhere. You're just spinning your tires and going in circles. You should try something new. No. I'll get there eventually.
The crazy part about all of this, right, is that the WWE, they're the big dog, right? AEW is there. It's a presence. And even though the product has been terrible for years now, the fact is they are more profitable than they've ever been.
Okay.
Even coming off of pandemic years where they're like cracking these huge profits when they haven't run live shows in how long? They're running live shows again now, but just the fact that Ben says pro wrestling right now is akin to either Cirque du Soleil or Japanese anime. So it's beautiful in its art form, or I guess they both apply here.
I want to know. Like, I don't watch wrestling at all. I don't. What are we talking about? Like with wrestling? Like, I mean,
I'm just saying the patriotism thing. It permeated the American psyche all the way. From wrestling to cinema, it was everywhere. If you weren't a flag waving patriot, you were a dirty, rotten communist.
Yeah, but that's
been the result of the Cold War and the conditioning that entertainment has done.
Yeah.
And they got a lot of money from the government to do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hate to do this, but I have to get to work at in about like I'd be at work in about like an hour here. So it's my Friday night, but I gotta be there at 9:00 tonight, my time.
Okay.
So I may have to cut this so I can go, not look like a mongrel before I go to work.
Well, I think we've made our point. So how about we just wrap this up by saying, Brandon, where can people find everything on the social medias?
The WADcast.com is going to be the big one. That's pretty much getting updated now. I'll be updating it tonight when I get to work. You'll be able to find our past episodes and announcements about our next episode on there. But then you can also find us on Instagram, on Facebook, both just the WADcast and the search options. And you'll find our pages there. They're both the same logos, black circles with a white banner that says WADcast in it. Like and subscribe. I will say this though. Josh and I had Josh actually had a really good idea, and I think we figured out how to do it. If you are someone that liked and subscribed to the WADcast on Facebook, on Instagram, on the YouTube channel, wherever. But if you're one of our subscribers and you are actually someone that continues to comment on our show, and I'll be making an actual announcement on this on our social media, we are going to have a kind of like a raffle of sorts at the end of every Friday night's episode. In this raffle, we're going to be giving away free codes, digital codes to movies. Some are old, some are new. They go back as far as what was the series that you had, Josh?
I think the oldest movie code that I have right now is for Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Okay, that's right, the Star Trek series. So they go back from the Star Trek, and they're as recent as Ghostbusters Afterlife Digital. So, and then when Spider-Man No Way Home comes out, as we accrue more codes, we'll be giving them away to our subscribers and followers, people who actually do comment and interact with our show. So, kind of like a little pitch for us to get more followers because we're whores, but also to spread the love of cinema to everybody else. But that being said, that's where you can find us, or find me rather. We'll find the WADcast. But yeah, that's pretty much it, buddy. That's all I've got. But I do have to get going. I'll let you end with the final thought and your connections, social media wise.
I want you to
Josh.
stick around for just one more thing.
Okay, we gotta make it quick.
You weren't here last week when I made the announcement, but I want you to be here this week when I do it again.
Okay.
Doing next week's show, we have a very special guest.
Yes, we do. And I'm excited about this.
We have actor, stand-up, writer, podcaster, Matt McCarthy coming on the show next week.
Yes,
March
and
25th.
you guys will know him from his online skits, from The Worst Catfish Ever to playing Commissioner Gordon in the Fat Man short series with Peter Holmes.
Bad Man.
Huh?
Bad Man.
I thought it was Fat. Okay, no, Bad Man. Okay, Bad Man. But he plays Commissioner Gordon. He also plays, I believe, the Riddler in one of the skits.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, really funny guy. Hysterical. I saw him live back in 2009 in New York City. The College Humor's Irish St. Patty's Day thing. So it'll be awesome to actually have a conversation with him next week. But yeah.
So that's what we're doing next week.
All right. But I got to go.
Have a good night.
All right. Hugs and kisses.
All right. Now that he's gone, it's just us. Well, you know you can find everything that I do over at semicorestudios.com. Yes, I have the domain for Wadco Media, but I haven't done anything with it yet. I'm still learning how to use the Adobe Creative Cloud, and hopefully I'll be able to create some sort of awesome website and maybe house some of these more creative openings. Sorry, I said openings. How some of these more creative intros, or maybe just throw them up on YouTube, who knows. But semicorestudios.com, @skidcomic on Twitter. Those are the easiest ways to find out where I am. You can find the Patreon on semicorestudios.com. Hey, $1 if you feel like it. I'm not here to give you the hard sell. I'm just here to let you know that it's there. We do have merchandise, though. I'm not wearing the merchandise tonight. As you can see, I'm wearing a wrestling shirt. So, unfortunately, I can't point to my shirt and say, hey, wear this. If you're listening to the audio version, you wouldn't see it anyway. But go to semicorestudios.com. There's a link to the shop there. And there are some actually, I think, pretty cool designs. Some things that you might recognize if you're a long-time listener of the show, or if you go to the YouTube channel every now and then. Let's see. I think that means it's time for the final thoughts, which means since Brandon's not here, get to cue the music. There we go. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, remember that the only thing standing between you and your dreams is you. It doesn't matter what anybody else says about what you want to do with your life. If you want to create, then you have to start creating. That's it. If you want to create the greatest story ever, at least in your mind, write it. If you want to do a movie, grab your phone, start shooting. Is it going to be great? Probably not. But it could be the greatest thing ever. You never know until you do it. You have to start following your dreams today. Today. Hopefully that one didn't go completely over everybody's head. But anyway, follow your dreams, create your art. Don't wait till tomorrow, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. Until next time on the WADcast, I'm Josh. With me earlier was Brandon. So I want everybody to have a great week if you want. I'm not trying to be bossy or anything.